Hey Siri, play Jesus Take the Wheel. This is Ordet.
Did you hear about this AMC Sightline program?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Honestly, I think everyone should just get A-list at this point.
No, I think everyone should cancel that. I want to cancel my A-list.
I would cancel mine. I definitely would. I wish I could, but it just makes the most sense financially. I don't know.
Yeah, but Movie Pass is back.
Wait, it is?
I got an email to join to join.
So
yeah.
How's it going to work?
I guess like it did before.
So but it can't be $10 a month.
I'm not sure the price. It's probably a little bit more now, but
will AMC fall under its umbrella?
Probably, or maybe not. I don't know. AMC is kind of the death of cinema.
No, I agree, and I think this new seat thing is really ridiculous. But like, if we live in a world where this is happening, I do think having A-list is probably just the best thing.
No. Because other theaters won't adopt it. Because Sightline, you're going to pay more for better seats. So if the seat's in the middle, you're going to pay more than if you sit on the sides. And you're going to pay more. Yeah, you're going to pay less if you sit like right in front of the screen.
But
so they're literally pricing people out. Well, I think that's the plan eventually. I don't know.
No way.
But they're not doing it in LA yet. They're just starting in like New York and Chicago or something. And then at the end of the year, they're going to roll it out wider.
So stupid.
But crazy.
And it's so annoying because, like, I never noticed this before, but I live in Glendale. The AMCs near me don't get a lot of good stuff. I've noticed it lately because it's been like a dry few weeks. I'm like, okay, I've seen all of these movies, but there's this movie Close that I really want to see that's only playing like at the Grove. There's a new Mia Hansen-Love movie that's not playing at AMC's.
Of course
like,
not.
I don't
know.
Kidding? Yeah, I've had a bad week with AMC.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Seen and Heard. This is the podcast where two Hollywood assistants go through the Sight and Sound top 100 greatest films of all time list. I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we're back this week for some Carl Theodor Dreyer. Now, we do ping pong back and forth between the top and bottom of the list. We are still working off the 2012 list, but is this film on the 2022 list?
So this movie, Ordet, appears at number 48 on the most recent Sight and Sound list, the 2022. However, we are going off of the 2012 list because
we want to finish it up.
We started the podcast when it was just 2012. And on the 2012 list, it is number 24. It's tied with In the Mood for Love.
So it dropped a little bit, dropped about 20-something spots for the new list.
Look at that.
Interesting.
Like 24 spots.
I feel like we have to do this. This is a little plug for our Patreon. We do have a new Patreon. If you haven't seen it, check it out. We have a link in the show notes. And in addition to a very exciting bonus series we're doing monthly, where we kind of do, stuff a little more off the beaten path than our traditional fare, the Seen and Heard fare, you could say. We're also offering, we have some free swag, we have Zoom hangouts, we have discounts on merchandise, and we also have polls to vote on the films that we do for the bonus episode. So if you haven't checked it out, we have the link right there in the show notes for the episode. Go check it out. We have a lot of fun and exciting stuff there.
Yeah, it's a fun place, our Patreon.
It's very fun. But before we get into this week's episode, Jackie, what have you been watching recently? That's not... Ordet.
Nothing. I've been really, really busy. I genuinely, I've seen one movie since our last week's episode.
Well, there you go. That's something.
And it was actually because of this whole debacle with AMC, because I really want to see Mia Hansen-Love's new movie, which I think is called One Fine Morning. Yes, it's called One Fine Morning. Not playing at any theaters near me, and I was kind of bummed. So I'm like, let me watch some other Hansen-Love movies, because I've only seen two. And so I watched Goodbye First Love. And the best way I can describe it is just a vibe. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes you just need a French movie about first love. You know what I mean? And it's really, really great. And it's just the perfect amount of sentimental. I think she's so good at this. Like, she's so good at just finding the exact amount of emotion, and I don't want to say exploiting it, but really like making good use of it, but never sappy. I've never seen anything sappy in any of her movies. I've only seen 3, but yet they all really hit you. Like, they really hit you hard, but it's never overly sentimental. And I just think that she's so good at that. Even this one, like, it's about first love. You'd think it's going to be this, like, I don't know, gushy thing, but it's great. And then, of course, The Last of Us. I have been reading, actually, this book called My Year of Rest and Relaxation. Have you heard of it? From 2018.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
Tessa Moshfegh is her name, the author. And it was described by the LA Times as the feel-bad book of the year. And it's kind of true, but it's also like really fun to read and addicting, and like has this wicked humor. It's about a girl who wants to sleep for an entire year, and she like mixes this concoction of pills to like try and get herself to sleep for a year. But like, if you're a cinephile, she makes so many references. Like, she references like Klaus Kinski and Dogma 95 in it. Like, she's clearly someone who likes movies, which is very cool.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a cool book.
I should read more.
It's a really easy read. What have you been watching?
A lot.
Nice.
I saw the Bogart movie High Sierra. It's him and Ida Lupino. And it's really good. It's good in that pulpy way. I think it was his first leading role, although Ida Lupino is billed above Bogart.
Nice.
But it was good. And I guess the director, Raoul Walsh, who's the guy that did the original Thief of Baghdad from like 1924, it's his film. And he remade High Sierra like 5 or 6 years later as a movie called like Colorado Territory or something. He like made it into a Western, but he remade it.
Interesting.
With Joel McCrea.
Wow.
Yeah. Haven't seen that yet though. Although on the Criterion disc, it has that as a extra. So
the movie?
Yeah, it has the whole extra movie.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Sometimes they'll do that. I like when they do that.
So cool.
I saw a film called Boarding House, which was a super low budget shot on video horror film from the early 80s with some friends. I had some friends over for kind of a bad movie night, and its distinction is it's the first shot on video film that was released theatrically because they blew it up to 35 millimeter print and like showed it.
Oh my God.
It's, you know, it's something. If anything, it's like a reminder of what you can do with nothing and just like some imagination and some
always nice.
Gusto, you know? And then I saw The Nun. So that's like The Conjuring.
Yeah.
It's a spinoff of The Conjuring 2 where the nun is introduced. And I like mostly the first Conjuring, but the second one's pretty good. Third one was not good. And I've seen maybe 1 or 2 of the Annabelle movies. So like, I'm like,
are they related?
They all just kind of take place. They all spin off from the main Conjuring movies. Like Annabelle the doll is introduced in there, and the nun is introduced in there, and then they spin off to their own things. And I saw The Nun, which came out a few years ago, and people ripped it apart. And it's not great, but like, I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I watched it with Molly, and we actually both enjoyed it because it has this thing that's not really done anymore, where it felt like a Hammer film. It felt like Mario Bava gothic 60s thing, and it's just like fog enshrouded people walking around castles with like candles, and like, you know, it's kind of a dumb movie, but I appreciate that they still make these like gothic chillers in that tradition. I actually did not hate it. Had a good evening with it.
Nice.
With zero expectations, and just kind of threw it on streaming. But that's what I've been watching.
Are you sure? Do you want to talk about anything else? I can see it in your face.
I don't want to talk about everything I've been watching because it's just too many things.
How many movies do you watch a day?
I try to watch 1 a day.
This past week, did you watch 1 a day?
Basically, yeah.
Really?
And if I missed a day, then I watched 2 in one day.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
How?
I think it's important. I do
too.
Because I don't feel right at the end of a day if I haven't seen a film.
I totally get that. I feel the same way, but sometimes it's hard during the week.
Agreed. I mean, you're busier than I am, especially right now. Let's kind of, we'll go on vacation sometimes. We like stay at an Airbnb where like maybe there's no TV, or there is a TV, but there's like no internet or whatever. And we'll be there for like a few days and like I'll start to feel really out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what's wrong with me? I'm like, oh, I just haven't seen a movie in like 5 days. So
Yeah.
like I need to do it.
Same.
Preferably once a day. A great day, I watch like 2 films.
That's lovely. And I felt the same way, which is why yesterday when I was watching Ordet, I was like, yes, Dreyer.
Yes.
Come on. But yeah, that's my segue into talking about this week's movie.
Yeah, should we just get into it?
I mean, I already gave the segue. So.
From 1955, this is Carl Theodor Dreyer's Ordet.
Ordet, or The Word in English, was released in 1955. It was directed by Carl Theodor Dreyer, based on a 1925 play by Lutheran priest Kai Munk called In the Beginning Was the Word. Cinematography by Henning Benston. Music by Paul Schierbeck. Ordet tells the story of a Danish farm family, the Borgens. The religiously devout and elderly father, Morten, has 3 sons, each dealing with a religious crisis. The eldest, Mikkel, is an atheist, despite having a pious wife, the adored by all and very pregnant, Inger. Johannes, the middle son, suffered a mental breakdown after studying Soren Kierkegaard and is convinced that he is Jesus Christ reincarnated. Anders, the youngest, is in love with Anne, who belongs to a different, more conservative religious sect and whose parents don't want him for their daughter. While trying to convince Anne's father to let her marry Anders, Inger goes into labor at home. There are complications and the baby dies while Inger just barely survives. Just when they are convinced she is out of danger, Johannes strides in and says that she will die if they continue to refuse to have faith in him. Sure enough, Inger suddenly dies, and Johannes runs away from home. As they are getting ready for her funeral, Anne's father comes to call on the family, apologizes, and gives his consent for the marriage of Anders and Anne. Just as they are going to put the lid on Inger's coffin, Johannes returns. Mikkel and Inger's daughter asks her uncle to bring her mother back to life. Johannes asks for the power to do so, and Inger rises from her death. As she embraces Mikkel, he proclaims that he has finally found his faith again. The film stars Henrik Malberg as Morten Borgen, Preben Lerdorf Rye as Johannes Borgen, Birgit Federspiel as Inger Borgen, Emil Haas Christensen as Mikkel Borgen. Dreyer first saw Munk's play when it premiered in Copenhagen in 1932 and had been writing notes on it ever since. But this was not the first adaptation of the play. There was a Swedish film adaptation in 1943 by Gustav Molander. Munk himself tried to write a script for a film version of his play, but it failed to take off. Dreyer was never really a financial success, but the Danish government knew he was like this true artist, essentially, so they gave him a lifelong lease to the Damor Bio, which is an art house cinema in Copenhagen in 1952. Like, they just gave him a theater. How nice is that?
That's what you get for making Passion of Joan of Arc.
That's the thing, though. Like, it's so interesting that he was never really a commercial success, but everyone kind of knew he was this genius.
Yeah.
It's incredible. That doesn't happen nowadays.
It's true.
And so the profits from the theater paid for the production of this film through Palladium Studios and backed by the government-run kind of cinema center, the Dansk Kulturfilm. Munk, the writer of the play, had been killed during the Nazi occupation. He was actually martyred for speaking out against the Nazis. And Dreyer features his grave twice in the film. So that big cross that they drive by when they're going to Anne's house and back, that's actually where they found Monk's body. Yeah.
Wow.
That's his grave.
His resting place?
That's his resting place. And the scenes that weren't shot at the studio, all the country exteriors, were shot in the village where his parish was. Because he was a priest himself, the writer of the play. And the actress who played Inger, her name is Birgit Federspiel, was actually pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And she left the film to give birth, and Dreyer asked her if it would be possible to record the sounds of her labor pains for the movie. Those were the actual noises of her giving birth.
I was like, that sounds pretty
incredible.
genuine.
Yeah. And she obliged. Like, I tried to think about it too. I'm like, because I thought about it, I'm like, that's so badass. That's so cool. But then I tried to put myself in her place. I don't know if I'd be cool with it.
It's very personal. Yeah.
So personal. But then again, like, if I was playing the role, why not? It's the most genuine sound that can come.
Yeah.
And the way that he shot this was so interesting. So he spent all day choreographing camera movement, blocking, setting up lights, rehearsing with the actors, and then he shot a single shot a day and like 2 or 3 takes max. No shot list, no plan, just every day was like one shot. And there are 114 individual shots in the whole movie, and half of those are the first scene and the last scene.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
114. I'm pretty sure my short film has more than that.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't know. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
Hey, toss over an assembly cut.
I will when I have one. This was his first film to be an immediate critical success since The Passion of Joan of Arc. And unlike Joan of Arc, this was also a financially successful film. Danish and international audiences loved it. It won the Golden Lion at Venice. The Bodil Awards, which are like the Danish Oscars, it kind of swept them. Best Actress, Best Actor. Actually tied for Best Danish Film for their own like Academy Award equivalent, which is interesting. So there's an online community called Arts and Faith, and it's just like a free community you can join, and there's like articles, and they're all about like movies, but like cinema movies about faith. Like it's not like Christian
Cameron
propaganda. Yeah, no, it's not like that at all. It's like actual
what was that movie, Fireproof
cinephile.
or whatever that was called?
Yeah. And so this movie, Ordet, stands at number 1 for spiritually significant films according to a 2020 list on this website.
Wow.
Can I read the other movies in the top 10? It's really interesting.
Yeah.
So it's Ordet, Andrei Rublev, The Tree of Life, Babette's Feast. Number 5 is Of Gods and Men. Silence by Scorsese's number 6. Number 7, The Kid with a Bike. Number 8, Do the Right Thing. Number 9, Ikiru. Number 10, Diary of a Country Priest.
Wait, Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing.
I'm confused.
I think it's just a really interesting list. I mean, Do the Right Thing.
Oh, sure, like from a moral standpoint.
Yeah, I don't think it's specifically like I think they are Christian, but I think it is more a spiritual kind of list about like right and wrong and morality and
I knew Tarkovsky was going to be number 2.
But it's interesting that you're doing Babette's Feast for
the film club.
The actress who plays Inger is in Babette's Feast.
I didn't know that.
Isn't that crazy?
Because I haven't watched it yet.
And but then I started going down a rabbit hole of this list. Do you want to hear other interesting movies?
Yes.
Seventh Seal. This is not in any particular order. Night of the Hunter.
What? Oh. Wow.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. It's kind of like it's a right and wrong type of thing too. Sunrise, Song of Two Humans, Spirited Away, La Ventura. That one tripped me up.
What?
La Ventura is interesting.
What?
We can put a link to this list in the show notes.
Yeah, let's do that.
Check it out. Vertigo.
What?
That one I'm confused about. A Serious Man, which is, I get it. Three Colors Blue. Magnolia.
Oh, because the frogs is biblical.
I guess.
Yeah,
and Fiddler on the Roof.
Fiddler on the Roof.
So it's all like movies about, I guess, spirituality,
faith.
Kind of religion, faith, and like morality. But it's a really interesting list. I had no idea it existed.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know until just now.
Yeah.
I also just want to say some background here that Dreyer, he was adopted.
Aww.
And he was named after his adoptive father, Carl Theodor Dreyer.
Okay.
And his mother's name was Inga. Or
Aww.
Inger. And also, one of the great sort of, you know how Kubrick always wanted to make a Napoleon movie and he never did? Dreyer always wanted to make a film about Christ and never did.
Until now.
Until 1955.
Yeah, so it's so weird because usually I know if you like a movie or not because we log it on Letterboxd, but we have decided to stop doing that. And I have no idea if you like this movie, Greg. And I'm trying to read your face. I really can't tell.
You can't tell?
So tell me. I mean, right now, on the record, I'm going to say I think you didn't like most of it.
Why do you think that? I'm curious. We've never done this before, and I like this.
Grump, I don't know.
Because I'm a little grump.
You're a bit of a grump.
Wait, why don't you think I liked most of it?
Because you like... I don't think you're wrong. I talk about this in my initial thoughts, but I think you think it's just a little too much. I think it's a little too much for you, and I think it's not enough kind of... I don't want to say despair, because there's a lot of despair in it. But I think it's just a little too much for you, and it ends just a little too happy for you. Those are my predictions.
Well, Jackie, since you asked, I think it's a masterpiece.
Yes! I'm so happy!
I will say, this was my first time seeing it.
Oh my God, wait, can I just say I'm so happy? Like a part of me, this is a miracle in and of itself. This is it. Wow, I'm really happy. I want it to be wrong.
First of all, how dare you?
You did it so well. You did such a good job.
I just had a poker face. Because it should be more of a surprise.
I like this surprise.
Because usually you do come over, and while we're setting up equipment before we even record, you're like, oh, so you didn't like this one, huh? Or like, so we almost have like a brief conversation then that we try to save for the show. So let's do it now.
Yes.
We're like, I didn't know what you thought about this either. I still don't. Well, judging by your reaction, I'm sure you loved this.
Go ahead.
I hadn't seen this before, and it's a big one. You always hear Ordet. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know. Anyway. So I like Dreyer for the most part. I love, as if you've heard our episode on Joan of Arc, I think that's, like most people, one of the great films, and certainly maybe the greatest silent film ever. And, or I should say film from the silent era. Yep. I'm not big on his film Vampire. Did you ever end up watching that?
I did see it, actually, and I was trying to think because first of all, I forgot it was him. While I was doing this episode, I'm like, wait, I've seen that. I don't remember it. I don't remember much from it.
It's unfortunately
and I just watched it this year.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it twice because I'm like, I should love this movie. Why don't I love it? And I've seen it twice, and I think that film was made at the cusp of the sound era, and it just feels clumsy. When I started Ordet, I actually thought the first 20 minutes or so felt really stagey. You could tell. I didn't know anything about this movie going in. I didn't even read the synopsis. I was just like, it's Dreyer, press play. And if I could tell immediately it was based on a play. And from the first 20 minutes, it was not in a good way. But then obviously something happens, and you get so wrapped up in these characters and their plight. And even coming from I'm not religious at all. I didn't grow up religious. And a lot of the negative reviews I saw on Letterboxd were like,
they all are. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, why do I want to watch a film about God? Or first of all, how close-minded that you can't, see a film about someone else's beliefs and you know what I mean? It's so close-minded to be like, I don't believe in God. So if this film is pro God, then I don't want to see it. So coming from a non-religious person, but kind of growing up around it, I really, really loved just the dynamics of the family and the people on the farm against the rest of the town.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I had a friend who grew up very Lutheran, very strict Lutheran. And I remember at a certain point, he changed churches. He was an adult or just about an adult. He just went to a different Lutheran church.
Okay.
And his parents flipped out.
That's crazy.
And so it's the kind of thing here where they're both Christians.
I know, it's so crazy.
Yeah. So I definitely saw that happen firsthand, but no, it's an incredible film. And I think, look, I could see how someone could not like it.
I could too.
But I think it's just so emotionally powerful.
Incredibly.
And I don't think in a manipulative way either. I think it earns all of it. And the ending, look, again, I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in God. I wouldn't say I'm atheist, but I've leaned more towards agnostic, but was very moving. The ending was very moving. So I didn't cry, but I did that thing where your face kind of scrunches up.
Yeah.
And your eyes get watery. That happened. Because how could you not?
How could you not?
But yeah, this is I almost gave it the full 5 stars on Letterboxd, but I was like, hold on. Like, let's let it simmer. I'll watch it again in like a few months. Then maybe the 5 stars can come then. But look, this was really, really powerful stuff. So yes. How about you?
I had 2 modes, okay? I was like, I'm ready to defend this movie. And then I was also like, yay, I really hope Greg likes it so I don't have to defend it.
Get all this ammunition saved up.
Okay, so just a testament to the ping pong. 1, you're doing Babette's Feast this week. I need to point that out. 2, the actress who plays Inger, Birgit Federspiel, probably pronouncing that really wrong, is in that. So I'd just like to point out ping pong. Not only that, but on Monday night, so I watched this on Tuesday. Monday night, it was my grandma's birthday, and she comes over and she's telling us stories like about her childhood, essentially. And she told me a story about how she was born in Lebanon. She was born and raised in Lebanon. How her youngest brother, died when he was a baby and was like dead. Like her parents believed him to be dead and like went to the cemetery. He got poisoned from something and he lost all this weight and then he looked like a skeleton, apparently. This is what she's saying, okay? And she tells me he was dead. Like my parents thought he was dead. We went to the cemetery. And she's a little convoluted. Like I don't know exactly like what to believe, but she claims that the baby was wrapped, okay? And they're at the cemetery. She didn't give me details. Was it the funeral? Was it like an undertaker? And she says like her dad said, let's just leave the baby wrapped up and walk away. And if he starts crying, we'll know he's alive. And sure enough, that happened. My grandma told me this the night before I watched this movie.
Wow.
Which is just like, what?
The stars aligned.
Ping pong.
Ping pong.
Anyway,
well, that doesn't have anything to do with ping pong, I guess. But just the stars aligned.
No, but that's what I'm saying. What are the odds that we're watching a movie where that happens? I watched that the next day and she tells me this story. First of all, what the hell was going on there? What? How? Anyway, initial thoughts. So that was my initial thought. I'm like, very confused.
Was that in the 30s or 40s?
No, she's a little younger. I'd say it was the 50s.
Oh, okay.
She's about like 9 years older than her youngest brother. So I'd say it was the 50s, but still.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible.
What?
Yeah.
Anyway, so the first few moments, unlike you, I love the first few moments. Like I saw the first few moments and like that moment where it pans to the bed and then pans back. I'm like, oh shit, like this is going to be good. But I knew it was based on a play and yet I still like those first few minutes. I'm like, okay, yes. And that's what I meant when I was like, yes, Daddy Dreyer, like please, I need movie. And so when it happened, I was very, very happy.
Give me real cinema.
Unfortunately, the ending was kind of spoiled for me because I worked on our website. So if you guys don't visit our website, please visit our website. I work really hard on it. We both do. So I had to update the picture, right, for the website. And I have no idea what this movie's about. And I just chose a picture that I thought looked interesting. Sure enough, it's Inger like in her coffin, but awake.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry.
I kind of knew no, it's okay. But here's the thing. I kind of knew what was going to happen, but it didn't matter. It did not matter. And like you said, I can see like this is so explicit in its subject matter. Like it's impossible to talk about it as anything other than a movie about faith. So I get it. Like if you really aren't interested in religion at all, like I totally get how you could not like this movie. But it's about how like weird and mysterious it can be. And I love it about that. And even though it is really like Christianity centered, I do think it's like it could
speaks to a larger
just about faith and humanity.
Because the sects aren't named in the film.
No, they're not.
So it's kind of a broad like
yeah. I think the middle kind of meanders a bit. You're right, where it's like the beginning, like 20 minutes. Yeah, the opening I really loved, but I think the beginning 20 minutes and it's like, it's so just about religion and nothing else really. I mean, yeah, there are like subplots, but really it's so about religion that somewhere in like, especially when they go to Anne's house.
I actually loved that.
Really?
That's where I got invested.
Really? Yeah. That's so odd.
Because I did, as a kid, my high school girlfriend was like a year younger than me. And to take her to prom, I had to go ask her dad and like go to his house. And he was a complete asshole to me and like intimidated me and stuff. And so I could relate to going to like the father and being like, can I ask your daughter to the dance? Like, so actually from that moment on, I was in it.
Wow, that's so interesting. No, like it meandered just a little bit, but then of course, like that really deliberate long birth, like that works incredibly well. Of course, the funeral, the deliberate long stretched out, that works really well. But kind of in the middle, I get it. Like it's a little, there's a little bit there that's kind of.
I think for me, I don't
want to say boring, but just go ahead.
I just needed tension.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, the only tension is coming from Johannes being off his rocker or the second coming.
Yeah.
But as soon as there's that, like, oh, he wants to marry the daughter, and then and also just the two different, that's when the two sects like rear their heads. And like as soon as that stuff was put into motion, I was like very invested.
Yeah. So my point being, even though, yes, I could totally see how someone could get bored with like the really repetitive cinematography and that like kind of middle part, it doesn't matter. Like that last 40 minutes is just like, I can't describe it. It was otherworldly. It was really otherworldly to me.
Yeah.
And I really needed this, honestly.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Those are my initial thoughts. It's great. It's fantastic.
It's so good.
You know what's funny is that like for the first hour maybe I was like, oh, is this like the fourth movie in the Silence trilogy by Bergman?
I have a note that literally, and again, I wrote this in the first 20 minutes, but I have a note that says too stagey ? Bergman perfected this kind of movie.
So,
but I wrote it too soon.
Of course, this is like the antithesis of the Silence movies, but it reminded me a lot, like Through a Glass Darkly, a lot. This kind of like really dark despair, these loud exaltations. Like it really reminded me of that one a lot. Of course, yeah, this goes against everything from the Silence trilogy, but I think that it's just so fascinating that me and you, for example, love both. Like that just in and of itself talks about how weird and interesting like humanity and God and faith is, that we love both the Silence trilogy and this movie.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. It's beautiful to me.
Yeah. It's stuff like this that reminds me like people's spirituality can be like a really beautiful thing.
Yeah. And just the duality of humans that both work for us. Yeah. I don't know. I loved it.
Yeah.
What should we talk about first?
I mean, where do you even start with this?
I don't know why I started with like the cinematography on this one, because I just feel like it's such a like hot topic.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I in the first 20 minutes was like, this is very flat. Like, yeah. And of course, as it goes on, you realize that it's this immersive storytelling style, these long takes but the camera's doing more than you think. The camera's tracking along and like moving, and
it mostly does pans. Mm-hmm. So the way I kind of thought of it is like, he's not moving us through the scene, right? It's more like, it's more guided theater. It's like, it's pointing you exactly to what you would be paying attention to if this was a stage, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that was so neat. There are a few tracking shots, like when Anne's family comes, I remember. That one really, it tripped me up because I wasn't expecting it, when they're walking forward and the camera slowly starts to pull out. And then, of course, like, another tracking shot is thing that reminds me.
It's when they arrive at the other congregation, when like the cobbler or the tailor is giving his sermon, and
that's
the camera
like kind of
tracks down the congregation.
Cool. That's really cool. They also do it again during Inger's funeral when they're all singing.
Oh yeah.
And then but like the slow pull out when the first time you see Inger in the coffin, right?
Yeah.
And it's silent and they're lighting candles and it's pulling out. Oh my God.
I know.
It's incredible.
It's really incredible. And I think it's this, like too, the stark high contrast cinematography too. Like everything is so inky. Although I did notice, I watched this on the Criterion channel. Mm-hmm. This film is in need of a restoration.
Yeah.
Because I noticed Criterion doesn't even have a Blu-ray of it. They have a DVD. And watching the print on Criterion Channel looks kind of beat up.
Yeah,
like it
you're
needs
right.
a fresh coat. They need to go back and rescan it and stuff like
You
that.
should write them.
I mean, I'm sure they know. They don't need me to tell them.
Link this episode and write them. You should.
Greg and Jackie say, please restore Ordet.
I love like I said, I love the opening, how it's like, Anders goes in his father's room, and then Mikkel's room, the door opens and all that stuff. But I noticed, like, I think I do love the pans the most, the ones that reveal something.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the bed being empty.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm obsessed with the one where Inger and the dad are talking, and then you see Inger's face look at someone has just entered, and of course it's Johannes, and it like turns like this.
Yeah.
What about the candles, when Johannes lights those candles and he leaves the room, but then it turns back to the candles, and it's
and then they move the candles.
What's with all of these directors back to back inventing film grammar?
Well, I wouldn't go that far for this film.
Well, no, but I do.
Because it is 1955.
No, I understand, but I just think that this is such a specific way to shoot an adaptation of a play. Like, I think it is so in line with it. And it's like, yeah, Bresson would probably watch this and be like, that's filmed theater. But I think that it's beautiful.
This film is better than anything Bresson has ever done.
Theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, one interesting thing too is the house that they're in is kind of like long,
Mm-hmm.
like horizontally long.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get a lot of that house shot from the same, almost like the audience's point of view, right?
Exactly.
But later in the story, especially when Inge is like sick, the camera then moves like what is that, 90 degrees?
Mm-hmm.
And is shooting it the long way, like from one side to the other. And it's like
God.
It mixes it up.
You
and
have a few 360 shots too.
Yeah.
What about when Mikkel and Inger's daughter is sitting on Johannes's lap and saying like, and he's telling her like, oh, you know, like your mommy's gonna go to heaven, and it's like circling, and it's incredible.
It's so good.
But you know, like compared to Joan of Arc, I noticed the first close-up in this movie is really when Inger is sick, right? And it's just like, it's not even that close. It never gets as close as anything in Joan of Arc.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so interesting to me how different they were.
I'm just now realizing the contrast between the two movies.
They're
Joan of Arc is all faces.
All faces, all close-ups. This one, the first one comes in, an hour in, and then there's not really that many.
No, there aren't.
At all.
Yeah. I did notice that in the first 20 minutes it was bothering me a little bit.
That there were no close-ups?
Yeah, but then of course, you know, you get into the flow and it's for a reason.
And then of course, like if you think about the last scene, when Inger's hands start to move, like that wouldn't work if he hadn't already established this like long shot grammar that he's using, right?
Because it's monumental when he cuts into her hands.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't wait to talk about the ending. This was one of the most moving endings I've ever watched in my entire life. This was one of the most. Yeah. I don't want to talk about it too much, but it changed me. I think it changed me.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
I know.
I think I would agree that it is one of the most moving endings I can think of.
Yeah.
That's not manipulative, because I've seen some that are.
Totally.
And this one's not.
I can't wait to talk about it. Okay, no, well, let's wait. Let's talk about Johannes a little bit.
Ugh.
That guy.
It's like I appreciated having him there, but also you just want to like blow him away.
He's really creepy though, but don't you just love how he's like, he walks like a zombie?
Yeah.
It's so creepy, and there's this chill in the air, and there's this like awkward feeling with everyone in the room. I love the priest, how weird the priest gets around him.
I love that when the new minister first meets Johannes, and Johannes does his little thing, and then he walks away, and the minister literally says, "That's appalling."
Yeah. Literally, we'll talk about that minister. But it's just so palpable how everyone feels, and they don't even have to say anything. And the echo of when he says "Amen" in the beginning. Should we hear it?
Yeah, let's play it.
Amen.
That echo. Like when that happened, I'm like, shit, here we go. And the wind. Oh my God.
The howling wind. It's almost like I'm going to bring that up later.
What's up?
I said it's almost like I'm going to bring that up later.
Hey, you're cheating. But I love when he's like, when Morten the father, first of all, it's just so weird. It's so simple, but it's so complicated because Morton tells Inger that he prayed for someone to shake things up. He prayed for this prophet. And someone literally, that's what he says, to shake things up. And in my mind, I'm just like, yeah, that's literally what you got, my dude. Like, this is what you wanted. And even Inger says, like, how do you know what your prayers may have set in action? And I love her. And I love how she kind of knows the whole time. And I think that's why she's granted this grace.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I can't.
She's the wisest character.
Yeah. And I love how it's like, okay, he's crazy or he's not crazy. He's Jesus or he's not Jesus. But like the ending still happens. Like the ending is inevitable. And that is the beauty of this movie, I think.
Yeah.
That it doesn't answer questions. Ugh.
I love the way in which this movie reveals its characters through the actions that are happening in the story. Like, because you don't really get a lot of alone time with each of the characters.
Yeah.
For example, like, I think the first 20 minutes I was cold because I didn't really have a way in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Johannes is crazy or whatever, or,
Mm-hmm.
has something going on with him. But like, I didn't feel anything for, what's the patriarch's name? Morton. I didn't know what to make of him. And
totally.
I think that's why, too, the scene where he goes with Anders to talk to the girl's father, because then he reveals himself.
Yeah.
And you get the fact that, like, you get so much of his character in standing up for their sex, standing up for his son.
Yeah.
Like the relationship he has with the rest of the town.
Yeah.
In the way that he talks to that guy, Peter, I think his name is.
Yeah. Anne's father.
Yeah. And you just kind of get the whole thing there. And just the scene where, because Anne's father so quickly dismisses Anders, like, no, absolutely not. He's like, is it because I'm not good enough? He's like, yes, you're not good enough. And he's like, in fact, leave right now because I have people coming over.
Yeah.
And then when Morton comes over later, it's like this, it's almost like a scene from The Godfather.
It is.
I thought of that because it's like,
Really?
he comes in and it's like, have a seat, make some coffee. Like, it's this whole sit down.
Yeah. And they come while the meeting is happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And just sit there, which is such a power move.
Such a power move.
They're like, you're in trouble.
I know.
But no, just the and the way that Peter so much more respects Morton than Anders, like the fact that he's willing to grant him this sit down time that he did not grant.
Well, he also
Anders.
wants to like kind of convert him.
Yeah. But I feel like he only gets that in his head when he knows that Morton wants something from him. It's like, oh, well, if you want my daughter, then yeah, sure. If you convert, like, you can have her right now.
I know.
In the way that women are just traded like goods,
I know.
like a loaf of bread.
But she loves him too.
Luckily, they're actually in love.
Let's talk about, because I think.
Oh, wait. I just want to talk very
go
quickly.
ahead.
Wait, unless you're going to move on from that scene. I was just going to say, I love when the two men are talking. It's like the two men, the patriarchs, the adults. And then Anders and Anne are in the kitchen with the mom.
Across from each other.
And the mom is literally reading like the Bible or
and
some
like
sort of religious book.
Lazarus rising from the grave.
Rising from the grave, but also she's like, look at the pictures, like treating them like they're kids. And she like pushes it towards Anne. And then when Anders comes around to look, she's like, no, you sit over there. Like,
that
I'll
scene
show
is
it
funny.
to you. Yeah.
I don't know why it's not that I didn't like that scene. I think just a lot of the like so much talking about like, I'm this sect, you're this sect, and it's like that was a little but I do like the scene. But I will say, because I think this is my next point, is just like this movie, I think it's, if there's like one definite takeaway we can take from this, like the one prescriptive thing about it, because I don't think anything is prescriptive about this movie. I don't think it's didactic at all. And all those people that do think it is, like, I feel like they're kind of missing the point. But I think the only prescriptive thing about this movie is saying that organized religion is wrong. Like, I think that's the only like message he's sending.
Right.
And it's not even through like the priest, yes, a little bit, but it is more about this fight, right? It's this conflict between Peter the tailor and Morton, and they're both Christians. And he Peter straight up tells Morton, like, you're not Christian. Like, I don't see you as Christian. And that's ridiculous.
You're going to go to hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he wishes like death upon Inger if it's going to convert him, even though he already believes in the same God as you.
I know.
It's crazy. I think it's so well done.
Yeah.
So well done.
I think it so simply spells out the
So
fanaticism.
simple. Exactly.
And absolutely. I loved that. And I think too, just knowing that the family, wait, what's the last name? Borgen?
Borgen.
Yeah. The fact that you know that it's the light Christianity. It's the happy Christianity.
It's the Christianity about life.
About
Yeah.
life and not punishing yourself and
Oh my
death.
God, yeah.
And, yeah.
So scary.
And I think after that, you're immediately behind them.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I love Morton's speech that he says there about like, yeah, ours is like the religion of life and enjoying life. And of course that comes back in the end when they're literally screaming life. But I think the priest is really interesting.
The new minister?
The new minister, yeah. Because I think that he more, like, it's not that he represents organized religion. I think he's more about, like, impersonal religion.
Right,
like,
because he always has to
polite
go.
Religion. Yeah.
When he first showed, because their whole thing is like, oh, when's he
very
going to
much
show up and say
job,
hi? Oh,
yeah.
he hasn't said hi yet. And then he finally shows up and he's like, hi, nice to meet you. And they're
I
like,
gotta
do you
go.
want to?
Yeah.
He's like, I got to go.
Yeah.
They're like, you don't want to stay? No, I got to go.
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
and then later, when Inga is dying,
Yeah.
and she's just survived for a second before she ultimately passes.
Yeah.
But like, he's like, oh, cool, she's okay. He's like, all right, well, I got to go. And
He says congratulations, even though the baby has just died.
I know.
And they're like having coffee, smoking cigars.
that's a good point, because I actually just watched this movie earlier today, so I hadn't even given much thought to that minister character. But you're totally right. He's the impersonal.
He's impersonal, very
Yeah.
like one size fits all type of religion. And it's like, but the good thing about it is, yes, he is all of those things. Oh, I love when they're like, he seems like a nice fellow. And the dad's like, yeah, he's being paid to seem like a nice fellow. I think, and of course, like he's awkward with Johannes and he says like, shouldn't he be in a home? But I think that what's interesting about him is that, yes, he does represent all those things. But I don't think that Dreyer is necessarily saying that his belief, the priest's belief that like, he says it a few times in the movie, that miracles don't happen anymore. I think that's a valid statement. I don't think Dreyer is like judging this priest for saying that. I think it's just another way that Dreyer is like driving home this idea that like everyone has different beliefs about God. Like everyone can have their own personal set of beliefs.
Yeah.
So while he does represent this very like impersonal, polite religion, I still think his point is not like really talked down in the movie. Yes, of course, the whole movie ends in a miracle. But still, I think that Dreyer treats him pretty fairly, and I think that just shows that Dreyer is so good.
And I think he treats the doctor really fairly, too.
Yeah.
Because, again, him and the minister are the opposite.
But they're always together. Did you notice
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
They're always together, and it is very much these, like, jobs.
Yeah, science and faith.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, there's so much going on, and there's so much that people are asking and expressing about their thoughts and their feelings, and I love that dichotomy between the two Christianities, like the life and the death. I think that's so fascinating. But yeah, everything else, I feel like this movie is just saying like faith is a mystery. I don't think it is very, like some people wrote in Letterboxd, like this is Christian propaganda. Like,
no.
I don't think so at all. I think it's like, yeah, like you could have miracles happen to you if you have faith, or they could not happen to you, or they can happen to you if you don't have faith. Like, because look at Mika, like he doesn't believe in God, and look what happens to him. His wife comes back from the dead.
Yeah. He would be punished if it was a super Christian, like propaganda story.
Yeah, and then like I love the sign, the thing that Morton says about like how he was praying because like he thought like I might as well. Like he didn't really have that much faith that an actual physical change could happen, but he was like, I believe in God, I might as well. And like that's part of it too. And again, Dreyer's not talking that down, I don't think. He's presenting it all. Like look at Morton, he really does believe in God, but like he said that himself. It came out of his own mouth.
Yeah.
Like, it's just I love how gray it is.
Yeah, and all about them believing in their own ways. And the fact that Johannes's point of view seems sacrilegious. And like they get mad at him and they're like, don't do that. He's like literally offending them.
Yes.
He's like, you guys didn't believe hard enough and now she's dead. And like, I'm going to bring her back. And they're like, bro, sit down. Like, shut up. Like Morton says to him several times, like, go to your room. Like, that's enough.
They're so mean to him. Do you remember what happened?
He's super annoying though.
Who?
Johannes.
You think?
Yeah. I would have kicked that. I would have threw that guy out the window.
So they're so mean. Remember when he like faints after Inger has died?
Yeah.
And someone, I think Morton's like, is he dead? And then Mikael's like, no, like these ones don't die. And then the dad is like, yeah, like we haven't even been granted that blessing.
Yeah.
He says something really fucked up along those lines.
Well, I kind of.
You agree though, and that's okay.
I agree, because he's a burden to the family, but also they don't want to put him on a thing. Now that makes me sound like a terrible person, but you could obviously he seems I think especially not framed with the ending of the film, like knowing what the end is. He's just like a nuisance. Like he's a burden, and it's like,
but they also don't want to put him in a house, which shows that I mean, we'll get to my favorite sound, but I think it really emphasizes this point. And then you know what I loved? The obituary. How really lingers on how only Morton and Anders' names are there, because Johannes has already run away at this point.
Yeah.
It's so sad. And that's why he's holding on there for so long. Like,
yeah. Well, it's interesting because I know that Dreyer did not have a happy childhood with his adoptive parents.
Yeah.
And because in this film, the daughter's name is Inge, like the young daughter, one of the two daughters.
Little Inge, yeah.
So it's just interesting, like he's passing on, like he could.
But I wonder what the name is in the play.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, true.
But yeah, I don't know. And thinking about Johannes is like, it's like this guy could be completely insane, but also like a lot of people thought Jesus was insane, and how can anyone be fully sane by human definitions if they're in cohorts with God? Like, it's just. Right. All of these things are burning under the surface, and I love it.
Yeah, and he has the whole thing when Inga comes out of it and she's okay, and he's like, "Oh, I see death coming."
Oh
for
my
her.
God, I love.
And sure enough,
that
she's dead.
The headlights. Ooh.
Oh, the headlights! Yeah,
because I see him with the what's it called?
Scythe.
This guy, but the other thing he says, I always forget this name.
Something
like
the Grim Reaper has.
No,
the sand timer or the hourglass. Yeah. Why could we not remember that word? Hourglass.
That's creepy.
Yeah, and then Morton's like, no, that's just the doctor's headlights.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, Anders comes out of the room and he's like, she's dead.
Mikkel.
Oh, duh. Of course, Mikkel.
I think it's time to talk about the ending.
I don't know. It ends kind of just on a whimper. It's like a non-ending.
It ends on a question mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
How emotionally charged is that scene? Because I think so much stuff is building in this film.
Yeah.
Through that part, like emotion-wise, like people are just barely holding it together. Like,
yes.
Obviously, the first crisis that happens to this family, well, Johannes, which started before the film starts, but the first one we see is the Anders and
that one,
crisis, which is mild, and from there, each of them just
escalates.
It escalates
all the way.
But people keep it relatively together. Like Mikkel keeps it together when she's like not doing well until the very, very end. Yeah, but like Morton kind of keeps it together. Yeah. The kids are aware of what's happening, but they're like strangely aware. Yeah, they're like, oh, is mom dying? And
Then of course, like they really try and sell that, like, oh, they're too young, and also like the faith of children.
Right. But you get that emotional release at the end. It's like so cathartic.
Firstly, I would just like to point out how effortlessly and easily he shows that Inger is the heart of this family. Like, she is the light in this household. She's there before we don't even know they have kids. We don't even know children live in this house. It's just her as this like feminine source of light.
She's keeping the house together.
Yeah. So I just love that it's so we all fall in love with her so quickly, and then of course she's the one taken away, and it's I don't know. It's beautiful.
It hits hard.
Yeah, I love when she's humming. Do you remember when she's humming? Like she's doing, I think it's just when Mikkel's like leaving the house. She's cooking or she's doing something in the kitchen and she's humming, and then it carries over into the next scene. Do you remember that?
I don't know if I caught that.
It's just one of those beautiful little like touches of like this woman.
It's like a little stamp. It's like a little stamp.
Exactly.
With a wax stamp.
As I have said, it was a little spoiled for me in the end because of the website. But as I also said before, it didn't really matter. So walk me through. I want to know what was going on in your mind.
Okay. You could kind of tell it was the final scene.
Yes.
And obviously it's incredibly tragic because it's that scene where she's in the coffin, like the whole family is finally processing her death. And especially in Mikkel, who is sobbing over her body, like sobbing. And your heart just breaks because he's a good guy. Like you care. It's a good family. You care about these people. They're decent people.
Yeah.
And so I thought I started to tear up when Peter, the tailor, comes in with Anne and it's like, I'm so sorry what I said. Like, here's Anne. Like, you guys can go be together. Your family. He's literally trading her. It's like, here, she's part of your family
died
now.
Here, take another one.
No, but that's where I started tearing up, and I was like, oh my god, that's at least we get a bittersweet ending. Like, Inga died, but we get Anne, and maybe she'll become the new Inga, and you'll have a Godfather Part 2. Sorry, Ordet Part 2. Where,
so wait, Inga's Apollonia.
Yeah, she's Apollonia. Yeah.
Anne.
And then in Part 3, Anne really takes a turn for the dark side and shoots the whole family in their sleep, like in the Amityville Horror.
Oh my
No,
God.
but so that was a sweet enough ending for me. I was like on board with them, like okay, and I was like tearing up. And then they throw that wrench in where
You didn't see it coming.
Johannes comes through the
You
door.
didn't see
Honestly,
it coming.
I did not see it coming.
Really?
I really did not see it coming. I did
Okay.
not see a resurrection coming.
Really?
And maybe that's my own blindness. Like, you're nodding. Yeah. I honestly did not see it coming.
Why would the lid be open that long? Like, why would she be there?
Extended grieving. Yeah. No, but I mean, when it happened.
I'm so happy for you. That's incredible.
Yeah,
Continue.
I didn't see it coming. I really didn't. Sometimes I'm bad with like
That's okay.
It's funny because Molly is so quick. Like we'll be watching something neither of us have seen. She'll be like, I bet this happens and this happens later. And sure enough, that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm bad at like predicting like the tropes. Maybe I should be more aware. But like, no, I mean, it wasn't outside the realm of possibility, but I wasn't like, oh, she's going to resurrect. Like, she's coming back.
She's back.
Yeah, I thought the Anne thing was a nice
Was
enough
it?
thing.
Yeah.
And then, but when Johannes walks in, you're like, okay, well, there's another wrench in here. He's back. And he's like, in quotes, back to normal.
I know. He says that. He says, I do have my wits about me now.
Yeah. And,
That I didn't see.
I'm like, okay, well, we're going to get a different ending here. And I think from that moment, I was like, okay, so...
Of course, the little girl walks in and she says, Uncle, do the thing.
Right. Of course, he brings her back. Not so unlike, actually, it's very unlike, but it still made me think of Uncle Isaac from Fanny and Alexander.
Aw, that's really sweet.
Yeah. Not that he brings back anyone from the dead.
But he is mysterious and performs a miracle.
That's true. That's
How
true.
did Fanny and
Yeah.
Alexander get out of there?
Yeah.
That's a miracle.
But yes, when she comes back, because the camera, like he says his thing, the camera lingers on her. You get that close up of her fingers. And I'm like, oh, they're gonna do it.
No,
Sure
but it's
enough,
not close. What close of the fingers?
when her fingers move, it's not a close up.
I don't think so.
It's like more of a medium shot or something.
I'll check, but I don't. Anyway,
So you see her fingers move.
you see exactly.
and I'm like,
it's
oh,
that jitter.
they're
Yeah,
doing it.
exactly.
And at first I was like, wait, how do I feel about this? How do I feel about this? And then I was like completely on board. And I think too, it's funny because while I was watching it, I wanted the daughter who's watching it happen. She starts smiling and she looks up at Johannes. I'm like, this is going to be the last shot.
That's what I thought too.
And it kept going and I was like bummed for a second. But then I ultimately, I think they made the right call.
I think so too.
I think Dreyer knows better than me. His instincts are better than me. But yes, it was powerful. It was overwhelming. It was a miracle.
It was a miracle. So,
Why don't you walk me through,
Oh my
since
God.
you kind of knew.
well, yes. I kind of knew just strictly because if you go on our website right now, you could see the picture. It's literally her like standing up. But I thought, maybe I got like
Maybe we should change the photo.
maybe it was
then
like a
on
behind the
website.
scenes.
Honestly,
photo.
we
What?
probably should change the photo.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, because then if someone hasn't seen it, they're going through our episodes. Like, because if it
Oh.
spoiled it for you,
Okay.
so never mind. It's actually a different photo we have up right now. Sorry, continue.
So for me, it really started like it's long, right? And it's stretching out that scene. And I was like, okay. But then it really starts for me when those freaking horses come in and they're wearing hoods. And it's the procession, right? It's the carriage and the horses. And I just love the morbidity of death in this. Like those horses are creepy as hell, okay? And then I love when, like even before though, the morbidity, the death in this movie is so morbid. I love when Johannes says, oh, there's the man with the hourglass, like it's this chilly, and then Mikkel like describes her dying in his arms. He says like her lips turned blue, like I felt her, she was in my arms. Like it's very explicit. I love his line when he says, everything I loved and worshipped is not to be buried in the earth to rot. Like he says rot like 3 times.
Yeah.
And then those horses show up. And when Morton is trying to get him up and get him away from the coffin, he says like, oh, you know, like her soul is in heaven. And then Mikel says, but her body is here. I loved her body too. It's very much this. And of course it's these like kind of corporeal illusions are part of his whole agnostic atheism about like, yes, this earth is what matters. And like this, the body. And I loved all of that. And I was so on board. I'm like, oh my God. And like the fact that the lid is open and yeah, it's just a lot about like loving life, you know? And then, okay. So then I was like, I kind of knew where it was going, as I said. So I'm watching it, right? And then you don't actually want to believe he's going to go there. At least I didn't. Like, I was like, there's no way he's going to go there. There's no way this is going to happen. You think like, this is way too outrageous.
It's such a grounded film.
Exactly. And then I was watching it and I'm like, wait a second. This is a movie. And miracles happen in movies. And there's no reason a miracle shouldn't happen in this movie. And it's like, I'm not saying miracles don't happen in real life, but the majority of miracles in our real life happen in movies.
Yeah.
And so this moment, the heavens opened in like cinema heaven. And this miracle happened. And right before it happened, right when he's about to say the prayer, I'm like, let it happen. I'm like, come on, let's go. Like, I'm ready. And then it did. And it was sweet release.
Yes.
And it was just miraculous.
I think
is too little a word.
The way, too, that she opens her eyes so slowly.
So slow. And she wakes up really confused.
Yeah.
And exactly. It's like he goes there.
Yeah.
It's not. And another thing I really love about it is that it's such a personal event. Like the second she's starting to wake up, you kind of cut to the priest and the doctor. And the priest is the one that like gets freaked out. But the doctor, did you notice that?
Yeah.
Makes him sit down. And then we don't return to them. Like we never, after she wakes up, there's never like, Johannes, how did you do that? Or like the priest saying like, this is blasphemy. This is Satan. Like there's none of that. It's so personal. Except of course you get Morton and Peter saying, oh, it's a miracle and it's the same God. They have their cute little moment, but really it is focused on this married couple.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I love it so much. Like
Yes.
I was trying to figure out, I'm like, what is the formula here that's making this so perfect? Like there's something going on here. Maybe it's a higher power. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's just because the majority of the movie has been asking these questions with no end in sight. And this is the end. Like this has to be the end.
Yeah.
I felt like it's, ugh.
And it's just everything coming together too.
Exactly.
Like
the way she
Mikel.
wakes up, Mikel, the way they embrace, the way she like gnaws at his cheek.
Oh yes.
It's like erotic.
Yeah.
It is.
You even see like some spit, like a spit line
oh my
that
God,
forms
it's
string. Yeah.
incredible. It's pure life. Like that kind of very it's erotic, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's the little girl smiling too. That I really thought that was the ending too.
Yeah.
I thought
I was
it
like, oh,
end like
they're gonna fade out here.
And then, but no, you know what it is? I think I know what it is. I think it's it's all of that, but then the perfect punctuation mark is the exit music.
Yes.
That
over black
for
like 30 seconds, something like that.
Just so you can literally wipe your face and continue to sob over this music. I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
Yeah.
I thought that was, one of the best endings I've ever seen and will ever see in my life.
Wow. High praise.
High praise. Holy praise, if I may. I don't know.
It's just so earned. Like it's just so yeah. Because the movie for the last hour really puts you in a pretty bleak place with the things that are happening to this family. And that's like a genuine sense of relief and a ray of sunlight. It's just so cathartic.
Most cathartic.
I want to talk too, because I forgot to bring it up earlier, just about Mikel's like matter of factness. Obviously he's like the atheist, but like when the baby dies in childbirth and he comes out and Morton asks him, so is it a boy? And he goes, yeah. And he's like, it's in 4 pieces in a bucket or something. It's like, oh my God.
That's what I mean when I say it's very morbid. He's very morbid.
Yeah. I don't know why I brought that up. I was just
no, that pops out.
Yeah.
But then when she wakes up And she's like, is the baby alive?
Oh, yeah.
And then it twists, right? Because in that time when he's saying it, he's being very like, he's talking about like body, right? But then when she asks him, he goes, oh yeah, he's alive in heaven. It's just the perfect like,
he's an
look at
instant
this
believer.
character change. Yeah.
I like something that Roger Ebert said about this movie. I know
for
we're
it.
going to do Pauline in a second, but Roger Ebert said, and I totally agree with this when I read it. He said, for the ordinary film goer, and I include myself, Ordet is a difficult film to enter, but once you're inside, it's impossible to escape.
I agree.
That's the movie.
I have a quote from Dreyer, not about this movie, but just about his whole
It's like his
kind of
morning
outlook.
routine, like
Yeah,
brush,
so this
brush
is from-
teeth, comb your hair.
This is from his book Dreyer in Double Reflection. You know in Tar when when she's being interviewed by Adam Gopnik and he's like, your new book Tar on Tar.
Oh yeah.
Like that's what I always think of now with these autobiographies. I think Kieślowski's book is called Kieślowski on Kieślowski.
Yeah, there's Cassavetes on Cassavetes. Yeah.
It's just funny. Here's what he said. I just really liked this. This is the task of any creative artist, to let himself be inspired by reality, and after that, withdraw from it in order to give the work the form that the inspiration suggested to him. Therefore, the director must have the liberty to transform reality so that it will correspond to the inspired, simplified scene he has standing in his consciousness. For it is not the director's aesthetic sense that should yield the reality. No, the opposite. Reality should obey his aesthetic sense.
Fascinating.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And it just explains that last scene because, yes, you're watching it and you're like, there's no way this is going to happen.
Yeah.
But then you're like, it should happen. It's a movie.
Yeah. And it does.
I know.
And it's beautiful.
I know. Good talk. This has been fun. I like when we agree.
I like when we disagree too.
I like when we agree and it's a masterpiece. This is rare. This happens for like our Powell and Pressburger movies.
No, I feel like they're a good, I mean, it's the Sight and Sound list, so there's a lot of all-timers on
But where
here.
we're both so into it? Not really.
That's true. Maybe like one of us is a little bit more into it than the other person.
Yeah.
I feel like, honestly, like 80% of the time we agree, more or less,
so
like
too.
pretty big.
But in that 80%, how many times is it like a Dreyer masterpiece like this?
Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not that many. I don't know. Do you want to do Sight and Sound?
Yeah.
Why don't you go first? What's your favorite sight?
My favorite sight is, you kind of mentioned it earlier. It's when Johannes says like, oh, the man with the hourglass is back. And then he leaves the shot. And then, of course, Mikkel enters the shot and you know what's happened.
Yeah.
Like, it's just purely from the design of the shot and the blocking. You know exactly what's happened before anything is said. And I think that is an amazing shot.
Nice, it is.
Like, it's amazing that it achieves that. There's so many shots like that, right, in the movie that are kind of like one person leaving, one person coming. Let me point your attention here. Let me point it there. But there's something about that one where it's like you knew exactly when Johannes said that she was going to die. And then, sure enough, he comes in. Yeah.
Wow, it's powerful.
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think I'm going to settle on, so there's a moment when you think Inge is going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not looking so great. And then she's okay. She pulls through for a second. She pulls through and Mikkel and Morten go in there. And Morten like grabs Mikkel's hand like in ecstasy and in just like happiness. And they're like looking over her as she's like awake in bed. And like it's this great moment where like she's been dying for like the last 20 minutes of this movie. And it's like, you know, the baby died in a really terrible way. And like, but you do get that nice little moment before she dies again.
Yeah. Before she dies again.
Yeah.
And the real sounds of her labor, like that's something I'll never forget. That's a speck I'll never forget that I'll carry with me forever.
I'm so glad. I did not know that, so I'm so glad that you mentioned that. But no, I just love. It's a real family victory, you know, for a family.
That's a very powerful.
It's this really great moment, and
I love how much Morten loves her.
Yes.
Like, she's really like his daughter. Like, there's no difference. There's no daughter-in-law aspect at all. No. She really is like his daughter.
Yeah.
It's very heartwarming. And he punches Peter for it. When Peter says, like, yeah, I hope she does die if that's what the Lord wants and if it's going to change you.
Yeah.
even though you already believe in him. It's ridiculous.
So
it's
fucking
so messed up.
What's your favorite sound?
Okay, so my favorite sound. It is the exit music, but it is also before I reached the exit music. It's the moment where Johannes has run away and Morton is on a hill.
Oh, yeah.
And he calls out his name and music is playing. And I think it might be the same music as it is in the end, but it's just that music. And there's so much despair in his voice. And I feel like he regrets the things he said about his son. And he's just sad and he's already lost a daughter-in-law. And just the way he calls out to him really broke my heart.
It's like in Dennis the Menace where Walter Matthau was too mean to Dennis and he runs away and he's like out looking for him.
Yeah,
and he's
that breaks my heart. Well, I really didn't think we'd be talking about Dennis the Menace this episode.
Well, let's play your sound clip right now.
Johannes! Johannes!
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. That shot too is stunning.
Gorgeous, yeah.
On that grassy hill.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
And that's the village that the author of the play
Wow.
lived and preached.
It's powerful.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm going to pull a Jackie, and I have two. One, because it's me. One is just the wind howling.
Of course.
Because it's howling like the whole movie.
It's great.
It adds so much of a vibe and an atmosphere.
I knew it. The second that wind howled, I'm like, Greg's going to love this. And it's the first 2 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Let's hear it right now. Yeah, I mean, come on. It's so moody.
Yeah.
And then my second favorite sound is at that final scene, before she's resurrected, Morton says, when Mikkel is crying over Inga's body, he says, "Oh, thank God, now the tears have come." Aww. And it's just like, because, you know, when a loved one passes away, there's this sense of shock where you don't always cry immediately. And it's like, sometimes you don't cry for a few days, a few weeks, a few months. Some people don't cry for a few years.
Yeah.
And just that moment of release where you finally just like let it all out was like a really beautiful moment of like Morton, really sad, but just Morton acknowledging it. And yeah, it's really nice. Let's hear it.
Oh, gudskelov. Nu græder han.
Great line. I love a lot of the dialogue in this movie.
Yeah.
It's really fantastic.
Yeah.
Apparently he chopped down a lot of it. There was a lot more in the play. I mean, obviously a play has a lot of dialogue, but
yeah, you know, for how much it kind of feels like a play, but like in the best possible way, it didn't feel like overly wordy, which was great. So
yeah,
honestly, good on him. I didn't know that, but good on him for chopping it down because it feels like the right amount as it is now.
Yeah. But it has beautiful insights like the one you just said.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Pauline.
Let's do Pauline.
Pauline Kael. Okay, Jackie.
Oh, no. That's bad news.
Carl Dreyer made two emotionally overpowering great films, The Passion of Joan of Arc and Day of Wrath. He also made the visually and conceptually daring Vampire. But Ordet, which the world press greeted as his masterpiece, may be considerably less than that.
Oh, no.
Some of us may find it difficult to accept the wholly madman protagonist driven insane by too close study of Kierkegaard, and even more difficult to accept Dreyer's use of the protagonist's home as a stage set for numerous entrances and exits, and altogether impossible to get involved in the factional strife between bright, happy Christianity and dark, gloomy Christianity, represented as they are by people sitting around drinking vast quantities of coffee.
I love that.
Yeah, kind of a.
Is that it?
Yeah, I mean that's.
Oh my god, the coffee, that is hilarious.
Yeah. So I disagree, Pauline. Although I have not seen Day of Wrath. Have you seen that one?
No.
Should watch that soon. But come on, Pauline,
yeah,
give me a break.
That's wild. The coffee, it's so funny, the things that like stand out to people, because even on Letterboxd I saw people talk about the coffee.
Yeah. Because it's this treat. It's rural. Like it's this treat. Like, oh, make coffee with the real coffee beans. And like, we're having a guest over, brew the coffee. Oh, is this why you made coffee, to give me this news? It's a thing.
I will say, I don't know if anyone out there has seen Goodbye First Love, the movie I mentioned, the Mia Hansen Love movie that I just watched. It had a similar thing in there, but scarves. This has got to be the ultimate scarf movie. I mean, a character is wearing a scarf in every single scene, taking it off, putting it on.
Is it fall or winter?
It's winter. It's all seasons, but it's when it's cold, and they're all always wearing scarves, even if it's not even that cold outside. This is a scarf movie, and I need to know if anyone else has noticed this. So if you've seen the movie and you noticed that, let me know. I wanna hear from you.
Letterboxd?
Yes.
Okay, I have a 5-star review here.
Okay.
Even on a second viewing, after over a year of time between seeing Ordet last, Dreyer's film still brought me to tears. An unimaginable act, considering how religious-themed the movie is and my views on religion or lack thereof. They write more, but I just felt like,
that's
yes,
great.
Absolutely. Like,
yes.
You don't need to be religious to
right.
find deeper meaning and be moved by this film.
Right. Okay, 5 stars. This person starts with a Jonathan Rosenbaum quote. I've long believed that the two summits of mise-en-scène in the history of cinema are Carl Dreyer's Ordet and Jacques Tati's Playtime. Because Jonathan Rosenbaum isn't wrong. Because this shot. Because the ending is perhaps the most simple, confounding, shocking, inevitable, breathtaking, breath-giving in all of cinema.
Wow.
What a great review.
Wow. That's so cool. Interesting. This and Tati. Yeah. God. This one doesn't have a star rating, but it just says, I don't know where to start. This is a deeply Christian film, but the atheist character is never treated as a fool or a sinner. There are arguments, but it never crosses a line. Though there is a conversion eventually, it's such a profound and powerful moment that it does not feel like a sermon. Honestly, anyone who watches this and does not want the miracle to occur is a cold, hard asshole. I'm rambling a bit. I think this was beautiful. It's a religious film about tolerance and love. It's about miracles, large and small, and about faith. It manages to illustrate so many interesting concepts without becoming dry and didactic by making them fundamental parts of the characters and making the characters real. Mm-hmm. It left me in tears.
Yes, same. That was great. I have a 1 star here. 1 star. Seriously, what's in that coffee? I want some of that.
Here's half a star.
Ooh.
Watched 15 minutes and bailed. Perhaps it improves, but what I managed to see was catatonic, intellectually pretentious, and with a minimum of sensation.
Okay.
A minimum of sensation.
Okay. 4.5 stars. Guy has delusions of being Christ after getting into Kierkegaard. Okay, so me in 12th grade philosophy class.
This is my last one. 1 star. This one's also very funny. The kind of almost impossibly boring piece that put generations off foreign language film.
What?
Some nice shots on the dunes in the first 5 minutes. Then I suggest you don't waste the following 2 hours.
Okay, 2.5 stars. Why does everyone walk and talk so slowly in this film? Well, there's more, but I'm not gonna pollute our episode.
Yeah, let's not pollute it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been Ordet.
It's been really, really fun.
I can see in your face you're very happy that
I am.
we so strongly agreed on this one.
I am, because this is what movies are for. I feel like this kind of movie.
This kind of movie,
and this
like
kind of
a life affirming.
But here's the thing. Yeah, I'm not really into life. And this is the whole point. Like, life affirming movies, I'm not usually that into. But then you go back and you look at your favorite movies, or at least I have. And I can't help but think that Yeah, most of them are pretty life affirming. But like on the, in general, I wouldn't want to sit down and watch like a life affirming movie. I also think because this one surprises you and it's not life affirming the whole time. I think that's
like the last
great.
5 minutes, if even. Yeah.
A movie can't be just life affirming.
No, because then it's fluff. It's shit. It's
Yeah.
No, actually, that's not true. I think You've Got Mail is pretty life affirming the whole way through. That's pretty great.
100%. Yeah. Like Ikiru, for example.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's like so
similar to this.
Yes. That kind of life, like that's my brand of life.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, I think it is so beautiful that we both agree on this movie.
Yeah. I think it's something beautiful. It really is. Well, that was Ordet. Next week, I just looked at the thing. I forgot what our film is next week, and I just got really excited because it's one of the great films of the 70s. Maybe I'm showing my hand too early. It's Chinatown.
Oh, nice.
It's Chinatown. Roman Polanski's Chinatown. So, yes, next week we'll be digging into some LA noir.
I like Chinatown.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Well, we just showed our hands, but but also, you know what? It's been a few years since I've seen the movie. When was the last time you saw it? It's been a while.
Probably years. Yeah.
Cool. So this will be.
I like it.
It'll be a fresh thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now that everyone knows we both like it, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah. Who doesn't like Chinatown?
Probably a lot of people.
Anyway, until next week, I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Seen and Heard is an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club, featuring Greg Kleinschmidt and Jacqueline Postagian. Theme music by Andrew Cox. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any questions, comments, or you just want to say hi, email us hello@seenandheardpod.com or visit our website, www.seenandheardpod.com.